Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I was really debating on if I wanted to post this, just because I don't know if it's going to rub some people the wrong way or what, but honestly, I don't care and I just wanted to share my experience because I do know that till this day, this is something that people are interested in. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be my experience working at Sephora. Now, I know that I looked for these type of videos when I was starting out there and like applying there and everything. So I think that this will be helpful for some of you just to have an idea of what I experienced there. And this is not to bash anybody or Sephora as a company, it's just my experience working there. So in this video, I'm not only going to be sharing with you guys why I quit Sephora and the hiring process, the interview process, the pay, so all of that. So if you guys are interested in my experience working as a Sephora cast member, then just keep watching. Okay, so hairspray. Okay, so just some background info. I applied to Sephora in 2017. It was about, I think it was beginning of September. I will say that it was a very large Sephora. It was a pretty popular one as well. And then I got a phone call from the hiring manager, and she basically just jumped right into the phone interview, I guess, where she just started asking me questions about, my customer service experience and my cosmetic experience and stuff like that. So I did the phone interview, and then I got called in for an in-person interview, and that was with two managers. Well, one was the manager, and then the other was, I think she was the director of the store. I still don't know. She was like the big boss of the store. So those two interviewed me, and the questions were basically, one I remember specifically was what brands in the store that we carry do you enjoy? I guess it was just to see like my extent of knowledge of their brands, I guess. So I just started naming off like any brand that I could possibly think of. Once again, they asked me to describe like my customer service approach, and if I get a client who says they don't need anything, what do I do? How do I approach it? Stuff like that. So that was pretty simple. I suck at interviews, so I guess I must have done something right. So after the interview, they made me do a makeup demo on someone. So basically, we go to the stage and they pull like a cast member or just like anybody that's available, and they make them pretend that they are a client. And I have to obviously like say, "Hi, what are you looking for? Tell me about your skin. What kind of look do you want to do?" Stuff like that. And so they say it, and so they give me a selection of products, and I had to do a look with that. And like they wanted to see my technique, but more importantly, they want to see how you interact with the client. You always have to be talking, you always have to be educating. That's one thing Sephora was really big on, is educating. They want to see that the client walks out of the store having learned something, which I think is pretty cool. So something I wanted to mention, in the interview process, they never discussed pay with me. They kind of just started me off at a pay, and I didn't really have a say. I don't have a problem saying how much I made at Sephora. I made $15 an hour at Sephora. So a basic day at Sephora is you walk in, you change into your tunic, go upstairs, clock in, check in with your manager. They give you or your DIC, and they actually changed it. I don't even know what it's called now. Leader. Back in my day, it was a DIC, which is a director in charge, which is basically the manager that was watching the floor at the time. So you check in with your DIC. They give you a touch base, which is basically the store objectives for the day, the goals for the day. If there's any events going on, they tell you what's going on. If a certain brand needs a little more support, that's what they talk to you about. So after you get your touch base, after you've clocked in, you go do your daily dose, which your daily dose is something that every cast member has to do every day, before their shift or during their shift or whenever, they have time to. A daily dose is basically a brand video talking about a product or a new launch that they were having or origin of the brand. It's just all goes back to how they wanted us to be really educated. So we had to watch a video. Could have been a video of our choice, could have been fragrance, skin, hair, whatever. So after your daily dose, that is when you go back on stage and officially start, working. So that is when your DIC tells you what zone you're going to be in, and that's basically the store being divided up into different zones. And one thing that really, it kind of annoyed me that they were not so understanding about this, but we weren't allowed, and I get it too, like I get why they do this, it's like a safety thing, especially because my store was such a high traffic store, but there were times, clients don't understand zones, they don't know that we can't leave this area. So I would get clients, they would be in my zone and say, oh, where is this brand? Can you show me this product? And like, it'd be really easy to send them off and say, oh, I have, a coworker, a cast member, there's a cast member at that brand that can help you out. It would feel to me like if it was me being told that as a client, I would feel like, oh, they don't want to help me. They're just brushing me off. And so it was hard to not leave my zone. So sometimes a lot of us would leave our zones and we would have to announce on the walkie that, we're leaving our zone to go to this other zone. Managers are talking to each other all the time. Like a lot of the times they didn't hear us when we said that we were changing zones. So they would go to our zone and be like, where the heck were you? And I was like, I said it on the walkie that I was going over there. Going back to the education in Sephora, one thing that I really applaud them as a company for doing is they really wanted us to know everything. When you first start Sephora, you do color training 201. They basically teach you everything about makeup application and things for different eye shapes, for different skin types. And so that is what color 201 is. And then after that, they give you a whole bunch of gratis, which is great. And then kind of spaced throughout, they would have brand trainings and they would send you to a different store to do a certain brand training on a certain product that was launching, or just to teach us more about how we can better apply those products, stuff like that. So I really appreciate how much they invested in us learning. So my biggest issue with my time at Sephora was really the managers in my store felt almost a little immature. Not all of them. It was like a good 50-50. A good half of them were amazing. They were so nice. They were so understanding. Another thing that I wanted to mention was an experience that I had with, of course, one of the managers. And basically, to go back home, would need to take a bus. And the last bus was at 1:15 a.m. and my store would close at 2 a.m. And so I had already told like the director that I could not stay, that I would have to leave at like 12:30 just to get changed, clock out, get my stuff checked out before I left, and walk to my bus station. So one day it was getting to be like 12:15, and so I told the DIC at the time, I was like, look, I have to leave at 12:30 because my bus, the last one, is at 1:15. And she literally said, no, you can leave at 1. You'll be able to get there in time. 15 minutes to clock out, get changed, get checked out, and walk to my bus. Are you kidding me? I missed my bus that day. I had to call my parents at 1:30 in the morning to come pick me up. So I do want to mention that, of course, not all the managers are bad. The store wasn't bad. It was just run really dysfunctionally. But not all the managers. A lot of the managers I absolutely loved. What was really nice was that like the higher up managers, I don't know if they're like the directors or whatever, there were 2 and they were super accommodating. They were always like really understanding. I remember one in particular was always like, what can we do to make you happier? If you want to try working in a different world. And worlds in Sephora is color, skin, fragrance. So that's what that is. So I was in color and she was like, if you want to try out a different world, because I had already brought up to her about like possibly leaving. And so I said, I was like, I would like to try working in fragrance. Fragrance was in my store, way in the back of the store, nice and secluded, away from the annoying color managers. That's what I want in a job. I don't want anyone to bother me. I want to do my job, help out my clients, like leave me alone. So fragrance was that place. There was only 2 to 3 cast members working there at a given time. So for a couple days I was working in fragrance, and I loved it. I loved working there. And then the incident happened. And this is not a reflection of the store at all. This was not the store's fault. The store actually handled it really well. But it was just one of those things where it was like, oh man, cherry on top. Like, that's it. So one day I was working in fragrance and I was in the middle of helping out a client, and I was walking over to Color to get something. It was a Brazilian client. I remember, that's why I was helping her. I remember it so perfectly. As I'm walking from fragrance to Color, I see this woman sitting on the ground, and I remember seeing like a few little droplets of water. I am not exaggerating. It was literally like little sprinkles of water. And she was sitting there and looking so like distraught, like, and I was like, are you okay? Do you need help with anything? And she was speaking really weird. She was mumbling, and I thought she couldn't speak English until later I found out that she could speak English. But she was mumbling, and I think she said that I fell or whatever. And I was like, do you need help? Like, let me help you up. Oh yeah, so she was pointing to the water. And she was like, I fell. And I thought she was worried about because, like, she spilled. It was just weird. Like, it did not look like she had slipped. And so I called one of the ladies that helped clean up the store to clean up the droplets of water. And so I walked away. When I come back, my coworkers are like, what the heck happened? I was like, what are you talking about? My manager comes up to me. He was like, did a lady fall and you like didn't help her out and you ignored her? And I was like, what? I was like, no, she was sitting there and there was like tiny droplets of water. I go back to where the woman was, and there was like a group of people surrounding her, and she started yelling at me. She was like, this didn't help me out. She told me to leave. She said she wasn't gonna help me, this and that. And I'm just like, I am not good with confrontation. I literally tense up and I freeze. She made such a scene and was like, you said that you weren't gonna help me. You told me to have a nice day and leave. And I was just like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. She was like, I slipped. I was like, you couldn't have slipped on a few droplets of water. I'm sorry, darling. You could not have. My manager was like, it's okay. You can go back to fragrance. It's fine. The whole thing happened. I literally was like holding back tears. Retail people put up with so much bullshit for you to just like make up stuff and lie. And so my manager and the loss prevention guy came up to me, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. They came up to me and they were like, she was a scammer. She was trying to scam the store. On the security footage, we saw her and her boyfriend spilling water and her literally falling herself. Like, she literally like sat down. Like, she was scamming. And like, I felt obviously good, especially just because like they saw that I didn't do anything wrong. But that to me was really traumatizing. And I had seen it before. I've heard, like, from my coworkers, I've heard horror stories. And like, I think that's so nasty. And I don't want to be in that business, which is retail, that like so many of people, I'm sure you guys can understand too, that work in retail, that like so many people put up with that. And I don't want to put up with that. I'm not going to put up with that. So that day I sent an email to my boss and I was like, look, I can't do it anymore. I can't. I knew that I wanted to leave, but this was just like, this was the tipping point for me. That was it. Again, I do want to stress that, of course, not all Sephoras are like that. And my store was not all bad. It was just the way it was run. It was the way that I vibed with these managers. You know, there are people that I used to work with that still work there till this day and love it. Like, it's different for everybody, but retail is just not for me. It really isn't. That was my experience. I hope this video didn't come off like 100% negative, but I really did just want to share my experience working there, because I know that so many people are interested in it and like, what's it really like? Because, you know, looking back on it now, when I was, 14, 15, 16, even, Sephora was like a dream job, to work with like makeup all day and like, you get to put makeup on people. And it's just like, it was a dream job. And when I got it, I was so excited. And it's unfortunate that it didn't work out the way that I had hoped, but I still do really appreciate my time there. But yeah, that was my experience working with Sephora. I hope I mentioned everything. I hope this was useful to some of you guys who might be interested in working at Sephora. So if you guys have any other questions about anything Sephora related, just leave a question down below and I will for sure get back to you. I hope you guys really liked this video. I hope that it was a nice change of pace. Not so beauty related, even though it was talking about Sephora, you know what I mean? Do not forget to give it a like and a subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.